You're watching the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent Austen Show.
What do we got here, Paul Dozier? We got from the Wahoo Shootout. This is going to be an 84-pounder, it looks like. Nimrod? Is that the team name?
Yeah, Nimrod, yep.
This just weighed in this past week, right?
Yeah.
Hey, give me this process. So what happens here?
So these guys, they fished, I believe this is Sunday, so they fished Saturday, and then they can weigh the fish 6 to 7 the day of fishing or 9 to 11 the next day. But with it being Sunday, we do it from 11 to 1. So these guys had fished the day before, so they come to Strike Zone Fishing on Beach Boulevard, and we went over there and got the fish with the cart, and now here we are putting it on the scale. This fish is this team won there's another Wahoo tournament just before ours, and they won the Northeast Florida Marlin Association hosts the Don Combs Wahoo Roundup, I believe it's called, and it's in December and January, and this team won that. So they're off to a good start here, but they've got to catch a couple more to finish
to get that aggregate one as well. By the way, we do have a new high, right? 95
95 pounder. Yeah, we sure do. A 95 pounder caught by William Pajatis and team of the Seabones, and it was a fantastic fish. Biggest so far. You know, it's a strange year. Last year, I think we had 5 or 6 over 100 pounds. We haven't seen those big fish. Those big fish were caught before the tournament started. A lot of them in November and December, so everybody's kind of thinking they're still coming now. From last week to this week, we've had a lot more 80, 90-pound class fish caught, and now the weather, obviously, if you look outside, it hasn't been good the last few days. So some people actually think they're going tomorrow, but
that was an interesting way to say it. Some people actually think they're going tomorrow.
Yeah.
You don't think they're going tomorrow?
Well, they might. It does look like it's supposed to fall out. The wind's supposed to stop this afternoon or tonight and get better as the day goes on. So, you know, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. A lot of guys are waiting on the full moon in March, which is what a lot of the guys think the big fish are going to be caught, which the full moon of March is next Friday. The weather does not look so great leading up to it. So if you can get a sneak in a day, steal a quick day. And also, if you go tomorrow where the conditions are a little bit marginal, there won't be 40 or 50 boats out there competing with you either. So you might, in theory, you have it all to yourself and maybe have a better chance of that big fish.
Paul Dozier with us. Welcome back. As Daniel Kilkenny says, part 2 of the show. Yeah, we had to reboot the system. Sometimes that happens with the so it's a new link, but really the same places that you find everything. Part 1 and part 2 of the show. When we were going 335 miles an hour for the Gator Nationals, I think that must have done something to the computer system. But we're talking a little bit of fishing. Again, big news here today. Just to remind everybody, we got Christian Kirk obviously is going to be released. Mitch Morse retires. So that's the big situation out of the Jags. And we're going to talk a little Florida Gators too, because they might have just clinched themselves a number 1 overall seed, or not overall, but number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament with a big win over Alabama. They continue to be really, really good. You better watch your March plans, as I tell you, Paul Dozier, if you want to go check that out, because that team we keep saying it's good, and then it's like, oh yeah, they're still good. They're really good. I don't know how many times I've said that. It's like, they're good.
Yeah, they're very athletic. And when they want to defend, they really seem to be able to defend, and they can make their foul shots, buddy. They're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, they can really score. Let's put up 99 on Alabama yesterday. So we'll talk a little bit more about the Gators and just how good they really are. It's just an unusual thing. You don't usually know in going into the NCAA tournament, like this team legitimately might be one of the best 3 teams in the country and can win it. That is the case with Florida. You just haven't said that a lot since 06-07, quite frankly. And really FSU in the pandemic year is the last time you said this team might be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the country and can win it all. And, of course, we didn't even have March Madness that year. But we're talking fishing right now, and the Wahoo Shootout well underway. Again, one of the cool parts about this event is that you pick 2 days to fish. You got to find those days. And you said that weather just hasn't been fantastic even in February. Once the tournament got kicked off, right? And right now, the wind conditions have just been brutal to fish.
A lot of luck in fishing, period, right?
Yeah.
No matter what it is, there's a lot of luck. But in this tournament, specifically, you have to have a little bit of luck to pick the right day. You got to pick the right day where the big fish are biting and where the weather is good. And a lot of people, like I said, are waiting on the full moon a couple of days leading up to the full moon, which is next week. And if the weather doesn't isn't good, then they're not going to be able to get out there, and then they're going to be fishing in less than ideal conditions, which is behind the full moon, which in history would tell you that behind the full moon, the first couple days is some of the worst days of fishing. So I don't know why. Before the full moon, leading up to the full moon, it seems to be better, and then behind it seems to be worse. And that's for all sorts of fishing. So
yeah, that's interesting. How much do you separate that over the years of like the old wives' tale or fish story or reality? Like, is that a hard thing to do in the sport of fishing?
We leave our scoreboards from previous years on our website, so the guys go back and look. To be quite honest with you, it really doesn't matter to me too much. But they can tell you when the big fish are caught year after year. And some years it's the full moon, some years it's the new moon. But if it were me, I'd try to pick the best weather and just take my chance. They get caught during all phases, let's be clear. I mean, but when the consistent big fish are caught, it seems to be consistently leading up to the new moon or the full moon.
I got you. What are they catching wahoo with?
Well, there's basically two trains of thought these days. Traditionally, it's been a high-speed trolling game the last 10 to 15 years, and that's when these boats, they troll big lures and they go 15 knots, and they're in big, heavy tackle, and it's a very effective way to catch them. And the last couple of years, the guys have started catching live bait and using live bait, and that's almost like king fishing, and we call it a little bit of king fishing on steroids. They go out there and they jig up bait, whether it's a live bonita or a live blue runner, and they slow troll with treble hooks. It's lighter tackle. It's you're going 2 miles an hour versus 15 or 20 miles an hour. It's probably a little bit easier on your body. It's definitely easier on the fuel tank, but it takes a little more skill and a lot of risk, because you go out there with no bait, and then you can't catch bait, then you can't fish. And like you said, you only get 2 days. So it's some guys do both. Some guys, we have a trolling only category, which is for the high speeders and the dead bait trollers. The old people, old traditionalists like me, we used to, when I was a kid, we used dead bait, and we trolled about halfway in between the high speeders and the live baiters. But that's there's a few guys still doing that, but for the most part, you're either high speeding or live baiting these days.
Sounds like a song.
We sell Zach Top to write one for us.
That's right. Did you go there?
Yeah, I had tickets. I did not go.
Oh, you didn't go?
I was there.
I heard it was
the
awesome.
Hamby was there.
Was it awesome?
Oh, it was a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not into the Zach Top enough yet to go to the concert, but I like his stuff.
You still got to put out a couple more albums for you to get there, Brent. He's only got one big one right now.
Yeah.
He's blown up.
Yeah, he really has blown up. Kind of like the next George Strait.
Place was
People
packed.
have said a
I
little
was
bit
told
about
there was a lot of young cowgirls there.
That's well, I would say that's why Hamby's there, but he's getting married in a couple of months, so that's not why he's there. Don't let me put that out there.
Hey,
Hamby, how are we doing on the picture front? Were you afraid?
No, slightly, but
because we
got
had like put a picture up earlier. He was testing it out, and that's what kind of blew up the stream for a second. So
I'll say one
are we
more-
going to take a chance on this?
We will, but I'll say one more thing about the concert, because this might have to be a conversation from the other day. I think if I make it to the end of my life and I have never, not one time, bought a piece of merchandise from a concert, I'll have succeeded.
Yeah, it is. That's one thing I'm not into. Like, I go in a golf pro shop and I want to buy a polo shirt, and I got a million polo shirts for some reason, and now I've stopped. Like, I put a moratorium on it. I just won't do it. Or you go to golf tournaments and you get them. Like, I have no interest at all in, like, I was at Garth Brooks Sunday night at buying a Garth Brooks shirt.
I agree.
I'm just not there. Now, like Kaylee, my daughter, she goes to these, she's like buying one from every place. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm just not, it's just not me. I'm with you, Hamby.
Like when you get a little older, putting somebody else's face on your shirt. I don't know.
Yeah. Or you should put my own.
That's right.
Or just wear that Wahoo shootout.
That's
I had
right.
my Wahoo shirt on the other day, actually, a couple of days ago. That's a nice one. But hey, one other, I was going to ask you about well, you were just taking us through that. What about the fight? What is the fight like? Because you kind of said it's a little bit easier on the body and everything. What is when you're catching a 95-pounder, which, by the way, looks like Jeremy Carter sent a picture of his in, and also you send it to sports@actionnewsjacks.com. Usually we want to put up some pictures of the fish caught right now, but we're a little hesitant to do that with the way the system's going. So we'll put it up in the next day or two, or even next week on the segment.
You can go on our Instagram and all the pictures of all the fish are on our
Absolutely.
Instagram or Facebook. But
So he does a good job with that feed, and I don't think it's you.
Well, I don't. You're right. The fight is two completely different animals. High speed versus live bait. The high speed guys are using 80-pound class tackle, and they don't ever take the rod out of the rod holder. And a bunch of men and women take turns fighting the fish, and you keep the boat going at 6 or 7. It's not exactly sport fishing. It's very effective. It's almost like using a winch to winch the fish in. When you live bait fish, you're using lighter tackle and lighter drag, and you chase, runs out and takes a bunch of strength. A wahoo's one of the fastest fish in the ocean. So they'll take a lot of line, and you drive the boat towards the fish, and it's more of a finesse fight, if that makes sense to you. Yeah,
absolutely does. So anyway, Wahoo Shootout, go check it out. You can check out the leaderboard, by the way, wahooshootout.com, like you mentioned, Instagram for all the pictures, and send us, by the way, you don't have to be in the Wahoo Shootout to send us pictures. Really what we want to do is create an interactive way for you to share some of your best catches, even if it's just with the family out there. Again, we encourage... Yeah, wherever you are, right?
Anywhere, yeah.
We got some good ones in today, actually. Some little dudes fishing and with Dad.
That's awesome.
That's the best part of this stuff, right? And that's the beauty of the fishing world. You guys encourage it all, whether you're in the Wahoo Shootout or not.
Right, of course. Yeah, the fishing is fantastic here, like we always talk about in the creeks, everything. With all this wind we've had, I would probably think that this weekend might be a little bit tough, but it is supposed to be pretty nice Saturday morning, so I think the intercoastal will still be good. When it blows really hard out of the west like it is now and has for the last couple of days, it'll make the water and the surf dirty, which probably won't be so great. A lot of catfish move in that dirty water in the surf. But the creek should be fine. Reds and trout and flounder have started to move in, so it should be good. And sheep's head at the jetties. And hopefully, a west wind's not good for much. It dirties the water offshore. The wahoo fishing might be tough as well, but a couple guys think it's going to be good. So they're tougher than me.
Yeah, maybe they know a little something or two. Do you find that people pick all the different fish you just named? Do they cross over into multiple different fishing categories that they're trying to get, or do people like to go fish for bass or trout or whatever and kind of stick to that?
If you go fishing in the creeks or in the St. Johns River, you can catch trout, flounder, and redfish, drum, sheep's head, all in the same day, and all of the same. A lot of times you can be fishing with the same bait and catch multiple species in the same spot. When you're offshore wahoo fishing, you might catch a kingfish. You might catch. The red snapper are biting the trolling lures now. They say that they're going to shut down our ocean because they're killing all the red snapper. The red snapper are obnoxious out there, and we can't get away from the red snapper. But that's another story for another day. But you catch all sorts of barracudas, amberjacks. But if you high-speed troll, it pretty much eliminates a lot of that stuff. It's mostly wahoo because you're going so fast. The smaller slower fish can't keep up. You still catch a few jacks and occasional barracuda, occasional kingfish, but for the most part, it's a wahoo.
We're going to get, we're going to do on this show at some point, we're going to get all those different types of fish, and we got to decide which one's which. Not you, us.
Okay.
We got to guess. A little bit of this fishing for dummies when you're talking to me.
What you should do is bring some in for let you take home and cook it.
Yeah, I was going to say a little taste test. I did have a good flounder actually a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, flounder's
and
good.
That was terrific. Do you have a favorite one to eat?
I like wahoo. Wahoo's about as good as it gets. You cook it like you cook tuna. Sear it and eat it rare or almost raw. It's excellent sushi, excellent sashimi, and it's pretty darn good. As far as inshore fish, I think a sheep's head or a black drum, a smaller black drum under 5 or 6 pounds. I like that, and a flounder. Hard to beat that.
Yeah,
but they're all good. Trout, redfish are good too.
Yeah. I just like about any fish too. Pretty good. Paul Dozier checking in on our fishing report each and every Thursday. Next week we're going to do this from the Players' Championship.
Yeah,
see you out there at TPC Sawgrass. I'll be wearing my goat hat.
Okay.
That you guys were able to get for me. You guys can get a pass in there that even I can't get for the Players Championship. Check out WahooShootout.com. Check out Wahoo Shootout on Instagram as well. Seriously, to see you all keep up to date. Do a great job up there keeping up to date. All the new fish being brought in and weighed in, and we'll see what happens over the next week with this weather, and we'll get an update on that leaderboard next Thursday. Once again, Paul Dozier, thanks for stopping in. Let's take a time out. We'll get the noon hour ahead. Austin revisits again. We check out the latest Daniel Griffiths article on actionsportsjacks.com, and we keep our fingers crossed that the computer does not crash again. But either way, we'll be back. Just might break the